Let's go ahead and get started here. Once again, it's Friday. Thank everyone for being here and taking some time out of their schedules to be here. Hopefully, everyone has had a great start to 2022. Personally, have had COVID, as most of you have known. Getting past that for sure. Definitely excited about being on the back end of that, and we'll be going and getting a negative test here in the next couple days. And so, using this time, obviously, the benefits of technology is that it doesn't stop us from being able to work, doesn't stop us from being able to have Zooms and Discord and all these amazing ways that we have because of technology to communicate. And so excited to be able to do that here. And once again, thank you for everybody for your patience in my DMs and everything such as that. Thank you also to all the admins and mods that have stepped up, kept everything active and moving forward. Of course, at this point in 2022, Fiscus is much bigger than any one person already. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than anything we could have ever imagined as far as the growth and the trajectory. Everyone that's here, that's committed to that, knows where we're headed, and so it really in the last 2 weeks we've really been able to prove that because of what's been able to come about, and I'm very excited to talk about that, to talk about these tangible, real, measurable, actionable, specific things that have occurred even over these last 2 weeks where most of the world has been off. Again, it's such a rare time to be able to get things done. So we're excited and done and very excited for things moving forward. If anyone has any additional questions as we go about, feel free to throw those in the AMA questions channel, and those will be brought up by the admins, and I'll make sure that we cover those. Excuse me. Forgive me for any coughing fits or anything like that may come up, because again, still dealing with COVID. So getting started, let's address the questions I think first, and then there's several topics that I would love to be able to speak on, and some of those would be in furtherance of even some of the questions that may have been brought up there. Let me find the right channel here. One moment. Okay. Getting to those questions there. First question is there a date for launch or at least a month that we have in mind? Yes. That, excuse me, that month is February, and that date is around the third week of February. That has been discussed with everyone from Leeway to Sahel to LinkPoint, which I'm excited to talk about today. And again, everyone is on board and pushing for a date that is the third week of February. Very excited about that. That leads right into that second question about the development of a smart contract based on a percentage. That was something I actually had posed. I feel that we're around 25%. That's being I think a little bit conservative. Again, that's knowing that really the first part of what we're doing isn't that different than from some other groups as far as our smart contract development. Everyone knows that the uniqueness that we have is our utility. And therefore, that utility is linked to the treasury when it comes to smart contracts. And so that's where the difference lies with us. Second question in the same vibe, and this is from Jedi Mind Trick, who's been here in the Discord since the beginning. Can the company who was chosen to do the audit come from a community DAO vote? Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Again, from the beginning, we always talked about consensus. It was consensus in CERTIC. That had been modified to consensus in Paladin. If there is another, let's have that vote. Let's bring that up. And again, it's something that, and I know that obviously we have the admins listening here. Maybe we design a channel around that thought, around that question. And that's something that, let's put that to a community vote. Not a bad idea whatsoever. That third question, is there a way to be assured the most recent whitelist Google Docs form with user and wallet has been received correctly? That was from Mary Dancer. Outside of DMing, there is, I think we may offer a stripped down version of the form, that doesn't have, too much personal information, I guess, if you would. Again, we want to abide by the principles of decentralization as much as possible. So if there's a workaround that we can find there, absolutely. Outside of that, that form will be made available at the very least in the stripped down version of that will be made available to admins and mods. And so that's a question that could be posed that if someone wanted to know. Outside of that, this is something I'll probably take up with one specific admin, and I'll ask if we do a specific maybe role for whitelisting, so that those know based on that role that they've been whitelisted. Fourth question. Thank you for the well wishes there. The question was, what does this project mean to me, and how motivated am I to ensure long-term success of the project and thus the financial success of early investors? Without sounding too Pollyanna-esque, I would say that it means everything. It's the culmination of life's work. It's the culmination of redemption, and it's enjoyable. On top of everything else, it's enjoyable. Those that know me know that I have a tenacious personality. Going from and having the life experience that I've gone through, certain things that oftentimes are obstacles for others, I truly look at those as opportunities. I'm very stubborn in the sense of not wanting to give up. Always will review and listen to and accept sound advice and sound counsel. That's a must, right? I'm a firm believer in the fact of, again, as it says on even my Twitter page, all of us is smarter than just one of us, and I firmly view that without taking anything from that. And so based on that, it means everything. Again, knowing that utility is what is lacking, especially in crypto. This is the solution for main scale utility inside of crypto. That's truly how we see it. And this is a point that I wanted to talk about later. Maybe we talk about it now. Is that we know that there's been rugs, there's been mismanagements, there's been issues that have occurred in crypto at large. And one of the biggest elements that's lacking is truly utility, right? And that is what we bring to the table, not just for Fiscus, but for other protocols as well. And someone had asked me personally a couple of weeks ago, why would we basically make revenue as a service available to other protocols when it's something that, again, if we're going to take a fee for that, we have a smaller benefit than if we were to do it ourselves only, right? And the answer to that is this. One, it's bigger than just Fiscus, right? Having protocols that are truly sound and are shored up, if you will, from a financial standpoint, to where they aren't even beholden to the normal crypto cycles of those that want to bond, those that want to ape into it, where they know that they're generating revenue to truly attack the solutions that they are trying to accomplish, no matter the protocol. That benefits everyone, not just Fiscus. That truly benefits everyone. And because it benefits everyone, it also benefits Fiscus, of course. But that's the short answer there. That's why we would do that. And that leads into the fifth question here, which was a question about, will there be a rebase warm-up period to discourage dumping? For instance, and this is just a continuance of the question, whereas an individual would have to wait for the duration for a particular number of rebases before they could unstake. And the answer to that is no. It's no. It's always been no. And again, this is contrary to other protocols, but we are contrary to other protocols. The reason that it is a no is because of the outside of crypto demand that we have created and continue to create. It is for that reason that we feel very assured that because there is that outside demand, we will not have a huge dump at launch. Will we have cyclical thoughts as far as the actual price of Fisk? Will there be some volatility? I think let's be sound. Again, this isn't financial advice, but some of that could definitely play a part. We've built it so that it's a shot to Mars, right? As we say, we're looking past the moon. But at the same time, we understand that we are based in reality, and so what our job has been, and specifically what I feel like my job has been in my core competencies, has been pushing the envelope of additional off-chain projects, because that is that demand. That is that soft landing for the price. That is the ever increasing amount of FIST that's needed for these projects. And so based on that, again, we feel that we have some great tokenomics there that are quite different than any others, because our utility is different than any others. Question 6 there. When will there be an audit? Absolutely an audit. We're looking for that to commence, right before right before launch. Again, I think getting back to the question from earlier, from Jedi about the audit and choosing that, I think that's something let's make that available. And if there's a different group that the community would like to see, or an additional group perhaps the community would like to see, given all the turmoil that's happened outside of Fiscus, in the last month, if there's a good audit there that everyone really feels great about, let us know that, and let's move forward with that group. The thought was question 7. Can we explain why there's been a delay from the original launch of December 22nd? Absolutely. Doing it right is much more important than rushing it, and much more important than simply putting out a token that doesn't have all the mechanics that we would want initially. And so it's the deficiencies that we had on chain, and identifying those quickly and knowing that adjustments need to be made. That has put us in where we feel not only confident, but we've brought in the heavy hitters. We brought in those that truly have not only Avalanche experience, but cross-chain experience. We have a lot of that now. We have those that have cross-chain experience on Solana and on Moonbeam, and we're excited about that. And more so, it's just about doing it right. It's just about doing it right. On question 8, is the team investing marketing for the project? Originally, marketing was, was a side thought. The original thought, and I think this even could be an update. The original thought was more so about knowing that the utility would spur the marketing itself. Similar to when we think of Google. Those that use Google in the original days, when you would get you had to get a sign up to be able to get a Gmail. You had to be referred from someone, right? If you were part of like the beta testing or even the alpha testing, and then word spread virally. We viewed that would be the utility, would be the marketing. There's been a slight change in that, and just really realizing that, one, we are in a sea of crypto projects. We know that. But 2, marketing combined with branding. We really want in crypto, outside of crypto, to really understand what we can do, what we have the ability to do, what we will do day one, and then what we will do moving forward. And so based on that, absolutely, we have a new marketing manager by the name of Thiago Kubota, and this will be all these names that I'm about to talk about will be not only listed in an announcement, but there'll be faces that you'll see on the site, and they'll be here in the Discord for you to be able to have conversations with. I know that even speaking of Suhail, he's been catching up and working, so there hasn't been a lot of Discord activity from him. That's something that I asked him yesterday. That we want to increase. We want to increase the access that everyone has to him. We want him here on a Fiscus Friday, a video introduction and talking about where he's at in overall, where he sees overall smart contract development, and then also as we integrate him with more firmly in the Discord, there could be a specific channel that's even developed for those deep dive questions. Now, some of that also is going to be handled by LinkPoint, which I'm excited to announce that we are fully engaged with. That was a contract that was signed, I believe, right after Christmas, 27th, 28th. I'll make a screenshot of that even available so everybody can see that. And so we're very excited about what they have already done from a personnel perspective, from a overall liaison perspective. We really are in a good place where we have we have heavy hitters. Their experience is vast, and I think there's an entire workup about their experience. But the ability now that we have in dealing with what I feel like we have is heavy hitters in several different elements. Obviously, from the leeway perspective and the large amount of personnel there, 200 or so developers in total. When we're talking about LinkPoint, again, a staff of over 140. Then when we add in the fact of the chain link and those integrations, we're in a great place to do something not only different, but to really start it from day one. So again, getting back to that question, not to digress, but getting back to the question about getting away from that December 22nd, doing it right, this is what it looks like. It looks like something that is much bigger than us, much bigger than the initial team. Obviously, changes have been made, and all of these changes have been done to not only assure the project to start, but also to make sure that we are in the best position at launch. We want FIS to be that legacy token for everyone here in the community and for those that will be new to it as well. There's some co-marketing that will happen with Chainlink. The first one is going to be around the January 16th date. And again, we're going to see the community grow. That's going out to, I think, right about 700,000 people. And so again, we're expecting that growth. So what we want is to be able to fully manage that growth. The benefit of everyone in the community that's here now is that you've been here the entire time, and that will never be lost on anyone here. You've gone through everything, and you're still here, and so that has so much value to us. That will never be forgotten. That's me saying that now. Okay, so getting back to the questions here. This was a very interesting question, actually. Are you considering timing the launch with the global market cap? In other words, waiting until Bitcoin or other alts start moving to the upside so there's more liquidity to go around. This would also buy precious time to work out as many bugs as possible for on-chain portion of the project. If it happens to be that that's what's occurring during that time, then so be it. And the reason that we don't want to wait, again, it goes back to our utility. the utility that we have, again, we know, let's take ETH for instance. The decrease in ETH, over the last week, has obviously hurt other protocols. It lessens, TVL from a fiat perspective and all those things. But when you look at the off-chain element, going from, let's say, the month of December, where new projects aren't even submitted to a lot of project finance firms, where project finance firms, especially those in London and in Singapore, are not even they're not even working, right? I mean, there's a banker holiday. Those that know, European banking and bankers in Southeast Asia, there's a banking holiday that happens where everyone is gone for 2 to 3 weeks, right? And of course everyone's usually gone for Christmas and New Year, but for them it's really, I think, more entrenched than that. And so when you look at January, it's a feeding frenzy. It's more projects that we could shake a stick at, to use a U.S. term, and so because of that, something to always remember is that excuse me, we are not truly on chain. We are a mixture of off chain and on, and therefore, when we look at market cap, when we look at opportunities, these are based on the fact that we're in both worlds. And so the benefit of that, though, too, is that one is able to offset the other, and vice versa. Both are able to mitigate risk, when we look at it. And so, I'm just saying all of that to say it's not as if we're waiting to time it for something specific. It's more so about the projects and the stage of those projects. And because we're at where we're at now, with not only the first 5 projects, but the second 5 projects, I don't see a situation where we don't have all 10 of the current projects available. And when I say available, projects where principal amounts are in wallets. What they are buying of Fisk is in wallets. I know 2 of those are actually setting those up now, and so a specific channel is being made so that as the community is able to monitor those wallets and able to know and able to see that this project had this commitment in dollar terms. Here is their MIM or their AVAX, and it is sitting waiting for launch. That's something that no other project has done. Obviously, no other project has tackled utility in the way that we are and have. And so we're happy for that to be the case. So to answer that question succinctly, not just onboarding the 3 projects, definitely want it to be all 10 of these by launch. It will be 10 at minimum by launch, with the option for there to be additional. Because again, we're vetting additional projects now. Getting into that, a second question here. Excuse me. The projects that are required to buy Fisk at launch, will they be able to sell their tokens? A 2-year lockup period on all of those tokens. All tokens that are bought by project participants, whether it's at launch, whether it's 6 months after launch, whether it's a year after launch, will have a 2-year lockup. Now, all these additional ones pre-launch, it's a flat 2 years. And when I say flat, meaning this. For the projects after launch, and this is just a small detail that we've just never discussed because we haven't been at this stage where it's time to discuss it. And this is something that obviously will be in the white pages under tokenomics, under the off-chain element, is that it will be a graduated release for those projects that come after launch. So for instance, let's say that we're launching that 3rd week in February. Let's say that in May, a new project comes to the table and they are getting, let's say, $50 million from Fisk, and they have to pay back, let's say, $75 million and make a purchase of $10 or $15 million worth of the Fisk token that would then be locked up for 2 years. At that 2-year time frame, it would be a graduated release. Therefore, there still is not this giant dump on the market at that point. Now, the interesting thing is that, and this is again by design, over the course of the 2 years, even if they came in and they had a large purchase, and I say large in the sense of, let's say that it was 3 or 4% of let's say of all fish tokens potentially, if it was just a very large outsized deal, and we're working on 2 of those that would be in that realm. Even those, because of that graduated release, one, you have a 2-year time frame where we've seen again continual increase in obviously in the treasury floor and in the price appreciation, so that when they are due to have their tokens released back to them, the impact that they would have is again 2 years in the future from the time they started. Secondly, we have the graduated release, and doing that so that, and I think this is similar to when you look at a supply factor that some other protocols have used, let's say for dev tokens. Doing that really mitigates the impact that it would have on the overall FIS token, and so that's the long and the short of that, and that's something that we can definitely get into more as well. Question, okay, here is, what is the average turnaround of a project finance deal from when we first agree to the set aside to when we get paid? So the agreement, as far as agreeing to the actual set aside itself, that could occur at any point. Let's say that now a new project is going to apply for financing. And let's use again a project that's $100 million. Applies for financing and it receives an approval. We would, in essence, be scheduling that project for a time in the future that we know that the set aside would be available for that project. They're on our schedule. What we want always is the shortest amount of time for our funds to be in the set-aside smart contract. We never want them sitting in a set-aside smart contract really for longer than 30 days. That's a must. Again, we're working on getting that down to that 3 to 7 day time frame, and so we would be paid at the end of that 3 to 7 days. Even now, even at the end of a 30-day time frame, that's not bad at all. So in days and weeks, 30 days, 4 weeks, and we'll get that short as possible without sacrificing the ROI. Therefore, we increase the overall ROI of the entire treasury. So great question there. That was from Root Awakening. And feel free to DM that if there's some other, if we need to go into that even more thoroughly. Okay, given the experience level, this is also from Root Awakening, given the experience level and manpower of the finance team, what is the number you're comfortable with for projects financed per month? This has I think 2 answers to it. The first answer is that the reason that it's structured in this way, where number one, we're not taking equity in these initial projects, we're not taking revenue in these initial projects, we're not involved in the management of these initial projects. The reason that we structured it that way is so that we could do a large amount of projects. Therefore, we don't have the normal risk. Let's use a firm that would be loosely related to what we're trying to do. Let's say it's a VC or a private equity. They have to dedicate manpower, right? They have to dedicate not only management but operations and oversight and accounting and a slew of things. For us, we want that footprint of what's required by that project to be as small as possible. So one, for as long as it's feasible, we will outsource and we'll utilize the fact that the project finance firms have already outsourced auditing of the projects to like PricewaterhouseCoopers, for instance, with Minnezaga. And so we'll utilize that because again, that's smart for us to do that. It limits our footprint there. It allows us to do more projects. And so it's really hard to say from a comfort level. Yeah, those that know me and everyone here is I think beginning to listen. We're built for this, and so from a scale perspective, it's about large as feasible without being detrimental. I think is probably the best way to answer that. From a standpoint of risk, again, realizing that a lot of these the fees paid to us for the use of the set aside being paid back in stable coins, even though it doesn't have the upside of an Ethereum, it doesn't have the upside, let's say, of if we were to be paid back in let's say AVAX, it gives us that ability to be able to grow. Our growth is in the amount of projects. Our growth is in the not only in the size of projects, but in the multiplicity of projects. And so therefore, if we're paid back in stables, there's not so much of a limit. The limit is based upon what we have to be able to set aside. Next question there. Will all the onboarding projects be required to invest on opening day? Yes. The reason that these projects are the ones that have really come to the forefront is because of that ability, is because of the structure and them knowing that they will, and them having the ability to do that and us structuring that. That's why, again, these first projects that have been before launch have been a little different than the ones that will come after launch. The ones after launch, it's a very simple scenario of we take them through and make sure that they're approved. After that approval, and again, this is the approval process really is even outside of Fisc. That's something that would be handled, for instance, by Waweya. We have two other firms that are like Waweya that will also begin not only bringing us projects, but being in our ecosystem. And so with all of them, the approval happens before we're ever involved. Again, we always want to be last in, first out in everything. And so to that thought. In the next question here, when approximately would the NFTs move to AVAX chain? Will the original remains on ETH Poly? If so, will they have any value? So the mechanism there, and I know there's going to be a Donny drop about this as well, is that it will be a swap, and so there won't be any remaining on ETH and Poly, and if they are remaining on ETH and Poly, they'll have no value. They might trade in the NFT realm as a relic, as some of the original East India Trading Company shares would at some point. Maybe they'll be unique in that level and take on a life of their own. But AVAX will be the home, and we'll look for everyone to be able to swap there via DApp. And that DApp is something that we've already had two kind of working discussions on with the developers as well. In that question 16, how far ahead of launch date will NFT holders get their tokens airdrop? That's really at the whitelist. So at the whitelist, we look for everyone that's before whitelist that had tokens, whether it was from Airdrop, whether it was from a bounty, whether it was something that was similar to that. We'll have those so that you have those and you can hold those. And so knowing what our goals are for the actual launch, that date is coming up quickly. The white launch date is coming up quickly as well. That's something that, again, I'm not going to speak in a manner about a date on that, but know that we have meetings on this Tuesday coming up, and the core of that meeting is about the whitelist. And so look for an announcement to be made on that before our next Fiscus Friday. That's very specific and measurable, and we'll give details, and everyone will know where and how they need to have money parked, what protocol we're using, and all the details for a successful one. Okay. Let's see here. I was looking at good question. It's detailed here. Let me look at it. Okay, this is from Jackie Baby. I was thinking about it possible to implement a social, sustainable part in the revenues, like the projects can add an extra social, sustainable fee on top of the revenue fee, or some special sustainable NFTs, which gives them, for example, more votings during the verification by the Fiscus community. With these social and sustainable fees, we could support social and sustainable DAOs like Klima, reducing carbon emissions, or diatom, taking plastic out of the ocean, and do sustainable farming. With the rewards, we could then support charities or support projects out of Fiscus DAO. Is something like this in the making? Phenomenal thoughts there, and that's something I think honestly we need more of. We envisioned some of the sustainable aspects really as a V2, as something that we would more or less kind of grow into that. But again, we're there now. We really are at that point now. And so I think to not integrate some of these elements now and to have some of these discussions now and maybe build out the framework it will probably be missing the boat, because we know that the ramp up will be quick. And so this is something that maybe we take an extra interest in now. So thank you for bringing it up. Let's dive into it. On our side, we had looked at the growth inside of, and I know it seems maybe even generic in thought now, but the scholarships and grants, we really saw that as an element of kind of spearheading kind of some social elements, maybe not so much as ESG and sustainable elements, but definitely some social elements. There are several projects that are in the Wewea pipeline that are really ESG projects. There's an ESG specialist that's actually that Wewea has already engaged with as well, to be able to score projects that come through. So again, that's something and this is something obviously that we could do, outside of smart contracts and on-chain development. But it's something that we need to have furthering discussions on. So let's do that, as a community. And again, if there's a special channel that needs to be dedicated to ESG and sustainable issues, maybe we do that and we have some furtherance of conversation there, and we design something that's agreeable to the community there. Yeah, brilliant. Let's see. One point I did want to talk about here was the community involvement in the multi-sig. The DAO is the DAO, and I know we're not there fully yet when it comes to everyone having full-fledged roles and voting and snapshots and all the things that we want in the DAO. But for now, I think having community nominated members that would be on multi-sigs would be great. Moving forward, as we look into having various vaults, again, having a multiple of community members that are on those, I think is a great idea. Now, one thing that was brought up, and this was brought up by, I got to give him credit, by Brian King Heron, was really the thought of a private docs, as like some of these other protocols are doing. Obviously, the team, everyone that we're talking about, whether it's obviously myself and Suhail and all of us, of course, there's the doxing, and there's even the public doxing. But for those community members that still want to have their privacy intact, but they're known to the community, they're known in crypto, maybe even already. If they are willing to do, let's say, a private docs, then their involvement in the multi-sig, I think would really go a long way. And that was that point that was brought up even by King Heron and looking at some other protocols and the success that they have had there. So again, great thought. And if anybody has any ideas on that, those that would want to do that, feel free. Some have docs to me. I think there's been probably 15 or 20 that have already docs, that have great projects, that are in the community, that have said, listen, this is who I am. This is who I am in the real world. Here's my LinkedIn. Call me. Let's have a conversation. I think I've had maybe 4 or 5 of those conversations out of 15 or so already. And so again, those could be some of those individuals as well. Although they're at a point, we'll have to make sure that those that have projects wouldn't necessarily be controlling, full-fledged a multi-sig that would therefore benefit their own project. That is something that we'll have to have maybe some mechanism for. And obviously, by having a 5.8 multi-sig, there's some pretty good leeway there. But that's something that we definitely need to keep a lookout for. And then also, I wanted to talk about here the token in general. I know we've talked about utility and the role of utility and why that sets us apart. But I think something that's definitely valuable to talk about, given the state of other projects, especially those that have a significant APY. Again, 2.5 months ago, I think it was the norm for projects to have a significant APY. 1, because everybody wanted to ape into a project. 2, because there were 30 or 40 ohm clones and ohm forks. And so again, for us, we've never been a fork. The situation has always been different. The role of getting the FISC token into the market is the core reason why we have always talked about having a significant APY at launch. It's truly for that reason. We need that liquidity to function. We want that to be there. And so obviously the benefit is that everyone will be able to have a nice APY. But also something to keep in mind is that, that APY having at that first 10 million token mark is literally getting us to the point, it will go from 50,000 APY to 25,000 very quickly. And then from again, that 25 to 12.5 very quickly. And that's what's needed for us. And so again, inside of our tokenomics, that's something that's truly there. And it's there for that reason. It's not just because we are looking for a giant TVL. The metrics that we have are also different. Again, from a bonding perspective, most other protocols, they need the bonding in order to be able to obviously to grow. For us, that growth stemming from the off-chain means that if there is no bonding that occurs, the treasury still grows. And it grows significantly. The main driver of treasury growth is not through bonding. And so that's something that I think everyone needs to maybe realize and maybe dwell on, that there's a significant difference there. Okay, let me see what else we have here. All right, just reviewing some notes here. Sorry about that. Okay, let me see here. 1 second. And then also, I would say again, with regards to hitting some of the highlights, with regards to whitelist, after that meeting that we have on this Tuesday, which is all hands on deck, we'll have some additional details there. From a progress perspective, there's some additional, I think, technical details that are being prepared over the weekend so that everyone knows really kind of more so from a technical perspective where we're at. Everyone knows I am not a severely technical person when it comes to the smart contracts. It's always been the focus has always been on the utility, which is off chain. But even based on that, we have shored up everything that we needed on the on chain, and so we want everyone to be able to see that and really dive into that, test out the expertise of those that now are a part of the team. Um, and I would also say now I could say this too. So our new Fiscus team members. We have a new COO, Kevin Schoenewolf. His expertise and these three individuals all stem from LinkPoint and from the partnership that we have there. Significant expertise. His LinkedIn, will be posted so everyone can see it and know exactly his skill set and what he is able to do. I'm pulling it up right now as we're talking, actually. Let me do that here. I appreciate everyone giving me the little bit of informality in this AMA. Phenomenal experience. Been CEO priorly. Also has a financial background, which is phenomenal. Because again, if you were to zoom out and really take a look at Fiscus a year from now, 2 years from now, with a significant amount of assets, those that would be in the traditional world would look at it as assets under management. Those in the crypto world would look at TVL or significant protocol value. Again, having a COO, having someone that has that financial background was a must, and so that was an initial requirement. His experience will speak for itself. Everyone will be able to review that, of course. From a marketing side, as we already talked about, the new marketing manager is Thiago Kubota. There's marketing meetings that have already happened. Digital assets have already started to be transferred over. There'll be some integration because again, we don't want any of the community vibe and feel to be lost. And I'd like to give I think special accolades right now to a lot here, which I always call Alethir, who with I know it's the unofficial Fiscus DAO medium, but I think it's much better to say community approved, community sponsored. It's truly been wonderful. He's serving as the Fiscus historian. The weekly recaps of everything that's going on, good, bad, and ugly, is truly beneficial. When we look years from now, we want to be able to look back and see the weekly progress and see the things that really did well and those things that we could have done better. And so, having him in that position, I think is wonderful. He's been objective in that sense. And so when we look at marketing, even moving forward, we want that message to be concise, precise, succinct, and all flowing together. And so based on that, there will be integration between those that have already been having so much content that they've put out and also the new marketing manager. And so again, we're not taking just a pure corporate approach. Even though these individuals absolutely have that level of experience and that level of viability, we want to keep our Fiscus identity at the same time. And so it will definitely be a blend of that with neither being a detriment. Also, the new DevOps lead, which is going to be liaison everything from the front side of web development all the way to smart contract integration is Chang. Very excited about him being in that role. The experience that he has, I think, is something that is really unique, and there's some advantages I feel like that we will have when it comes to our site that others won't. This was a conversation actually that was had with even admins, I think as early as late as yesterday, really talking about the fact of when we look at other protocols, it looks as if their website is really an afterthought because everyone's already so interested in the protocol. Everyone's already ready to stake. They just want a mechanism to be able to do that when it comes to the apps. We want to be more robust. We need to be more robust. From a protocol perspective, we aren't just, and everyone that knows because of the time that's spent thus far, we aren't just going to throw up a site that just is bare bones. Just enough is not enough. And so, based on that, very excited about what Ken will bring to the table because his stable of experience is vast with household names. Absolutely. And honestly, the entire LinkPoint team. When you look at their existence, I mean, again, you're talking about a firm that's over 25 years old, that has been in not only all things blockchain, but other elements that have been very difficult to navigate. They've been in elements that have been difficult to navigate from a regulatory perspective, and so based on that and their experience and their structure, we really are cooking with grease, as my late grandmother would say. Let me look here. What else? Okay, let me go back to the team room. Okay, another question here. From the first handful of projects at or near launch, would those benefit NFT holders, or is that coming later on in the project? And so most of those do not. Those are projects that do not have a revenue component, all with the exception of one. And this one I'm not able to speak about until next week. It's being nailed down, and this is what we had talked about at the beginning, being a nodes and mining project. There was a firm that came to the table just over the last 3 days, and it said, "Listen, we know that they can get approved for nodes with us. They can get approved for mining and mining equipment with us, and this is crypto mining, not physical mining." And so, based on that, this was one where in the negotiations that I made with them, said, okay, in order for us to do this though, we're going to need this to be the first project that benefits NFT holders. And so I'll be excited to have details about that come out here this next week as they've signed. They have about half of their documents already that they're due to sign off on, and I expect that to be done by this next Tuesday as well. That's the deadline for them. Another question, would the NFTs that were sold before launch be tied to the revenue of specific projects? If so, which ones? Or will the NFT owners get to decide which projects later on? Or is revenue linked to those NFTs in another way? Great projects, and even a couple of thoughts inside of that too. The NFT utility has always been to receive revenue or rebases or rewards, whatever of the R's you want to call it, from all the projects that contribute revenue, rebases, or rewards, not just from just one per se. Next question there. Can we update the site, include new team members? Absolutely. That's being done now, especially, over the last 2 weeks, different ones have been in different stages of approval, different stages of verification and of even background checking. So yes, absolutely. They will be there, then that will be adjusted. If was on this AMA, he would make me have a date that would be done. And so fortunately for me, he's not. No. I would say give us just a few days to make those adjustments. Now that really the ones that have already gone through that process give us a few days, and we'll make those adjustments on the site. No problem there. So let's go ahead and let's make a date on that. Wednesday by 10 p.m. Eastern, we'll have those adjustments on the site for all the current new and existing members, team members. Okay. Circulating supply of FIS at the time of launch. So we know that the thought has always been to really be hovering around that 6 to 6.5 million tokens total, right before launch. That's kind of always been the thought. We want everyone that's been a part of it to be able to receive that significant APY before the halving. And so that's the thought. And when you mix that with tokenomics and the initial treasury level, that's what's there. Now, the outside part, and again, the part that we've always stressed that we're able to control more than anything else, is the abundance of projects and their contributions to the treasury. And so when we look at the mixture of those, again, coming out right around that 6.5 million, and we see some rapid increase after that, obviously based on that APY. And then of course, price appreciation is something that we don't know how high it will go, truly. There's several different models that show different numbers. We know I look at, again, I'm a bird in the hands worth two in the bush type person, to use that old phrase. And so for me, it's about where are we at as far as treasury goes. Where's our treasury floor at? Because when I look at a firm value, that's the value. Knowing that projects will be increasing. Obviously, we know it's going to increase, but where are we at today? And I guess that's kind of a thought too. Again, looking at other, not in the off chain world, but looking at in the on chain world, but looking off chain. Excuse me. If whenever we look at, and I think in the U.S. and obviously abroad, when you look at earnings reports, when you look at revenue guidance and the impact that they have in the equities market, we can see the impact of what that guidance does. Now in crypto, obviously it's the wild west. But what we want really in a perfect world is to really always base it on what's there. Again, having when we know that when deals are contracted and individuals' wallets are funded, and because of smart contracts, knowing that that's there and it's in essence ours. It has to be used to buy Fisk. Knowing that once we start, knowing the viability of the project finance partners, and therefore we know that we will be paid because the project finance is sound. And then, of course, that we have no risk because the funds are in the smart contract. Knowing all those things is great. But again, we always just want to make sure that from our perspective that we're looking at truly what's there. Let's increase what's there. We're able to do that in a big way. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Any other questions there? If not, we're close here to wrapping up. It's been a quick hour. Excited about what's happening. We've just begun. The year has just begun. Everyone is healthy now, and I'm very excited for the advance in things even before this very next week. When we look at being around, 6 weeks ideally, from a time schedule perspective, and those that are involved, it's going to go rapid, and we're plugged in and we're ready. Those that have questions about my motivation, know that there's a I think those that have seen it have seen maybe the Dwayne The Rock Johnson in different posts and quotes talk about that. He won't be outworked. That's something that I feel is really a mantra of myself. In starting this from a personal perspective, I had discussions with family, discussions with my wife, and saying that the commitment that this takes is something that I'm committed to, but it's going to involve more than just me being committed to it. It's going to involve a commitment from all of us. And so based on that, here we are, and we won't be outworked. From a protocol perspective, we won't be outworked. The utility that we have is needed, it's required, and it's available. it's low hanging fruit. And so we are here to be able to take advantage of it and truly grow with it. So with that, thank everybody for this AMA, and thank you for your support of Fisk and being Fisk is strong. And we look forward to every single day in this Fiscus community. So thank you to everyone, and everyone have a phenomenal weekend. Feel free to DM with additional questions and thoughts. There's a lot of DMs that I'll be responding to over the next 2 days. There's some great ideas even about utilizing maybe a few other protocols over the next few weeks, even to be able to gain some advantage on funds that we hold right now. Absolutely. From a riskless perspective, that's something that, as long as the risk is mitigated and we have control, I think that's something that we should do, and we'll pose that to the community before doing that. And so with that being said, thank you everyone that's here. Feel free, again, any questions, thoughts, ideas. Fiscus DAO is an open book. And so feel free to send those and submit those, and let's have those conversations. And those that want increased roles, it's here for you to have. So thank you, everyone, and everyone have such a wonderful evening or morning, depending on where you're at in the world. And we'll see everyone next week, and we'll be here every day until then.